Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. The Prime Minister, as we all know, has left to propagate and further the Kashmiri cause. He's in Saudi Arabia. He's met with King Salman, who has pledged support for the Kashmiri cause. He's also going to be talking to the UN General Assembly on next Friday. And it's very important at this point for us to understand that before the issue of Kashmir is, we want it to be internationalized. We want the world to take our side. We want the world to speak for our Kashmiri brethren. But before that, we have to realize that it's extremely important that we are united on the domestic front, that we present a very united front to the world if we want the world to side with us, to react, and to actually side with the Kashmiris in this battle against inhumanity which they're facing at this time. We'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about the role of the opposition and the government as in this very, very difficult time for the Kashmiris, so that they can, the opposition also has to understand, whereas the government has the primary role in making sure that there is an accord that can be seen between the government and the opposition. The opposition has to play its part, and the government, of course, takes the primary responsibility to make sure that they do come on the table and that there is a united front, there is a united presence for the world. We'll be talking about all of that today. I have with me Air Commodore retired Basit Raza, who's a senior analyst. Thank you for being with us today, Basit Saab. Shafiq Ahmed, who's an analyst. Thank you for your time. And Naseem Siddiqui Saab, who's a senior journalist. Thank you for joining us today. Basit Saab, like I said, of course, the way that the Kashmir issue has been picked up by our government, the way that the foreign affairs, it has been handled all over the world, we have to agree that there has been the kind of reaction that we've seen, the kind of reaction that's come from all the publications all over the world has taken up this cause. But at this time, how do you see the situation? Do you think that we are going to be able to present that kind of united presence to the world, that kind of a united front to the world that is essential for us to be able to further this cause?
First, I'll talk on the principle.
Right.
This is the present situation. The Kashmir problem in its present form is an existential threat for Pakistan.
Right.
This is what we have always proclaimed, and this is right. It's the partition, when partition took place, Kashmir was a Muslim state, a Muslim majority state. It was contiguous with Pakistan. So by all standards,
right,
it was part of Pakistan. No two ways about it. What events took place and how it went to India, and India actually grabbed it and now finally sort of shed all sort of pleasantries and declared that this is an integral part of us finally, legally and from every point.
Right.
So all this makes it a challenge for us as a nation. And let me tell you, you are very right in saying that it's the government's responsibility to develop a national consensus, but it's the responsibility of the individuals also, because whether you are in opposition or
right,
you are in government, you have come by people's vote and you have to convey people's sentiment. What is people's sentiment? It is our hearts throb for Kashmiris, for
right,
each one of us. So there has to be a united front. Yes, government should make efforts, and opposition and all other parties should also voluntarily come forward
right,
and offer their services for this national cause.
right.
I'll take one step forward.
What?
There's a Howdy Moody thing going on 22nd September.
Right.
Who has arranged it? Not Indian government. It has been arranged by the Indian diaspora.
Right.
Who motivated them to do this? Why can't we have
the
that kind of
Kashmiri diaspora
That's right.
do the same thing?
And initially, when India revoked Article 370, there was an anger. There were demonstrations in various capitals, in London, in New York, and
right,
Germany, France also. That wave seems to have subsided.
Right.
It should not.
It should not. It has to be
should not.
consistent for there to be the kind of reaction we
Exactly.
need.
It should come from within, from
Right.
each one. I remember when we were students, 8th, 9th class, I remember very clearly, if there was a Kashmiri Shaheed in Kashmir, we would come out and offer Ghaibana Namaz-e-Janaza. This was our sentiment. Nobody told us. We were
Right.
too young. but we knew that our brother has died in Kashmir.
Right.
And that kind of sentiments,
That needs to be there, and that
It has
needs to
to
be
be
built.
there.
And of course,
Exactly.
we have the responsibility to further build it up
That's
and for the Kashmiri cause.
That is true.
I'm going to go to Shafiq Saab. Shafiq Saab, okay, of course we agree that we need to further it, we need to build on that, but what strategy do we have? Of course, at this time we are trying to internationalize the issue. We are trying to sensitize the world in a way that it hasn't been, unfortunately, yet. But what strategy do we have other than this, and what can we do in your opinion?
Look, there should be a two-pronged strategy. One is short term, and what we are doing right now, like we have done, informing all the important leaders of the world and telling them about the plight of the Kashmiris, the way
Right.
the Indian government handling the situation there. And we are telling the world that, look, we both are the nuclear countries, and already we have fought 4 wars, 1948 and 65, 71, then the Kargil war. So, I mean, this is a flashpoint, and we have done this successfully. I mean, that is the only reason that all the international media, they have highlighted it. But we must have a clear long-term plan as well. And I mean, the situation is dangerous and bad, not only in Kashmir, it is also bad in the Middle East. And that is even a bigger issue. Like, I mean, there are 2 main issues, like Netanyahu had made a commitment. And I mean, fortunately, he lost the election. I mean, he said that if I won the election, I will annex Jordan. It was a very big statement, by the way, by Netanyahu. And the other thing is the open conflict between Iran, which has the support of China, Russia, and Turkey. On the other hand, I mean, Saudi Arab, America, and NATO, they are on the other side, along with other Gulf countries.
Right.
So, I mean, the way we are getting promises from Saudi Arabia that they said they will support us, but I don't know what kind of pledges Pakistan is making in the Middle East. Like,
Right.
I'm not in favor of like involvement of Pakistan in the issue of Middle East, because it is another very big issues. So I think that Pakistan, what Pakistan should do, Pakistan should realize the world that this is a very serious issue, and if any small incident occurred inside Kashmir,
Right.
I mean, there will be another escalation of tension between the 2 countries. So, and the other important issue is that the way US is calling this issue of Kashmir internal issue of India, that is not really supportive. So we should play our due role to realize to the American leadership.
Another
this is-
issue, of course, like you've mentioned America, and we were hopeful of some support from America, but we've seen that as far as even Donald Trump is concerned, and I'm going to go to Naseem Saab with this, I'll come to you. Naseem Saab, Trump in the last 47 days, he could have placed a call to Modi, and he could have said that at least he can end the sanctions placed in Kashmir at this time. But that didn't happen. And it's been 47 days. And, that kind of reaction would have been, it would just have been humane. It would just have, the world has reacted. We've seen publications. We've seen, it's been written about. And it's not a secret what's going on there. So what expectations can we really have with America at this point, with Donald Trump at this point, as far as support is concerned, when we haven't seen even that gesture, which would have meant a whole lot at this time?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much, Maruk, for inviting. First of all, you have seen that President Trump or USA was not happy with Pakistan in the previous years. But when Imran Khan has visited, even Trump tweeted once against
Right.
Pakistan, and then Prime Minister Imran Khan gave him an answer, and he realized him that what contribution Pakistan has made in the war against terrorism. We lost economically, we lost 70,000 people, including security and civil people. So this time you have seen that the first time Trump has tried to involve himself or give his services to resolve the issue of Kashmir. When Modi was there and he said that this is an internal matter of India, then Trump answered him that if it is an internal matter, then why is it not yet resolved? Why it took 72 years? So he again offered his services that he can
But they're letting India play with this internal, right? They're letting them run with it, so to speak. get away with it. Calling it an internal issue, calling it, first rejecting the offer of mediation, first saying there had not been such an offer. You've seen what's happened.
That's what Pakistan is doing, a moral support for Kashmir, and this is the best thing. I've seen first time in Pakistan that Prime Minister of Pakistan and our Foreign Office is working very swiftly and quickly, and they are being involved in dialogues with other countries, and they're just realizing them that at the moment this is not the matter of freedom of Kashmir. At the moment it's a matter of humanity, human crisis over there. The curfew has been imposed there for the more than 45 days now.
Right.
8 million people have been stranded over there. So this is a matter of crisis. So they must look into that one. First of all, they must convince Modi to lift the curfew from there.
Right.
Then afterwards we'll come to know that what casualties has been done there. And then Pakistan must keep going for their diplomatic ties with other countries. They must talk to Britain as well, because Britain has left this matter unresolved in this South Asia, in Pakistan, between Pakistan and India. And this Kashmir is the main bone of contention between these two countries for the last 72 years, 7 decades.
Right.
So this is it's the duty of foreign countries like America, Canada, those which are big countries, though has got influence. They can ask India to resolve this matter now. First of all, raise curfew from Kashmir so that people can start living their normal life.
Right.
And the world should know what happened in between these 45 days. So UNO should send their envoys, or foreign journalists should be sent to occupied Kashmir so they can tell that what's the actual situation on the ground. And
Right.
Pakistan should keep going with the moral support of Kashmiris and should raise their voice in the world. And as Prime Minister Imran Khan is going for UN General Assembly, and I'm very much hopeful that he is going to Saudi for take support of the Saudi king for Kashmir issue, then he will going to the UNO, then he will
Right, but
be
we
making a
haven't-
speech there,
Ji.
and definitely he will be raising a
Ji,
good
Basit
voice for
Sahab,
Kashmiris.
as far as, if we're talking about Muslim countries also, like Naseem Saab is saying, of course, the Prime Minister is in Saudi Arabia at the moment, and we've seen good response from King Salman. But initially, we've seen that, even the Islamic countries didn't actually play the kind of role we would have expected from them. Isn't that true?
It's unfortunate. Although in diplomacy it is said that it's not always a zero-sum game.
Right.
I mean, you can have good relationship with many countries at the same time, even if they are opposing to each other. But in this case, I think OIC has played a better part. Individually, you can take a move which is not altruistic, but on a collective forum, it's very difficult to go on a very divergent path from one that is more moral and more rational. So we have seen that although the Saudi Arabia and UAE did not condemn it in the way it should have been.
And of course, there's a matter of the award that was
exactly,
given.
they went a step further,
Right.
and the UAE ambassador even said that it's an internal affair of India, which was very, very sort of hurting to us. Despite that, OIC still condemned the Indian action. So as a collective body, the Muslim Ummah has still sided with what is true.
Right.
Having said that, I think let's come to the point that the Prime Minister present visit to Saudi Arabia has been successful, that the king has mentioned support, but it's a tightrope walking for Pakistan, because
why do you say that?
The events which have taken place, the
Right.
attack on the Saudi oil installations, which actually knocked off 50% of their capability in one strike,
Right.
which was very significant. And now the blame is being put on to Iran, although the Yemeni Houthis have claimed responsibility for it.
And that places us in a difficult
Exactly.
position, because what do we do
Exactly.
as far as right?
Now you see, if they finally conclude that yes, Iran did it, then what is the course of action for them? Shouldn't they respond? And who would make that response? America? No, they will not. If they had to respond against Iran, they should have responded when in the Gulf of Hormuz they shot down their drone,
Right.
and they were ready to strike, and Trump pulled them back. So America will not strike. Saudi Arabia perhaps doesn't have the capability to hit back at Iran. So who else will do it? They will look for a proxy. So the most
And
trusted
the position, right?
Exactly.
And
So one
right.
proxy was Israel, and as my friend just said, that Netanyahu has lost that closely fought race. Although the battle of ascendancy is still on, but there is a great danger because Netanyahu wants to be prime minister at all cost because there is a very serious case of corruption against him.
Right.
And if he becomes prime minister, he gets immunity and that trial would be suspended. But if he doesn't remain prime minister, then he will be tried and he will certainly be jailed. So his interest is to remain at the helm of affairs, and the only way to do it is create something, a warlike situation. Like one was to annex the Jordan Valley, which he declared that bring me in power and I'll annex it,
Right.
like I did with the Golan Height. And another target is Iran, because since Barack Obama's time, he was trying to hit Iran, nuclear installation of Iran.
Right,
But
exactly.
it was Obama who prevailed. And finally, when he went and signed that nuclear agreement, that was only to sort of curtail the nuclear activity of Iran, which Israel was opposed to. And when now again, here's a time that America, if wants that Israel should attack, Israel will be willing to do that. But those difficulties that he is not in power. So I think they'll look towards Pakistan to put some sort of support. But Pakistan has to be careful because our parliament has decided that we will not be a party in the dispute of two Muslim countries. So this is the principle we are following. Another principle that we are following is that any threat to the Haramain Sharifain, the Makkah and Medina, if there is any threat, then yes,
Then
we'll
of
be
course,
all out.
right.
So our stance is very clear, and we should stick to our that principled and logical stance. So that's why I said that's a tightrope
Of
for
course. Right.
Pakistan, and our survival lies in following our principled stand.
But do you think that we are in a position, Ji Shafiq Sahab, to actually, say no? Are we in a position to, if we're asked at this point? Because, of course, like Basit Sahab is also saying, it is a difficult position for us, if indeed, and the expectation would be for us to
Like
respond.
the Prime Minister once said, I remember, that he can play a role as a mediator.
Right.
And Imran Khan, the Prime Minister, can definitely play a role as a mediator because, Iran is our next door neighbor. And the way the Supreme Leader of Iran supported the issue of Kashmir, I mean, he's the only leader
Right.
among the Muslim countries who openly supported the Kashmiri people despite having good economic relationship with India.
Right.
So he stood against the atrocities of the Indian forces in
Right.
occupied Kashmir. I think so, having a neighbor like Iran, we should remain impartial. Despite we got some financial support from Saudi Arabia in different shape, including the oil support. But I mean, our neutrality is the most important because
And it would help the situation generally also, because we don't want to further endanger it. as
Yes,
far
of
as,
course, and we
as
can
far as
play the role.
region is
Imran
concerned.
Khan is a kind of a leader. I think
Right.
that he is very popular. He can talk very sensibly to both the leadership, like he has a relationship with both Iran and with Saudi Arabia. And this is the aspiration of the general public of the Pakistan, that Pakistan should not be involved in any war
Right,
or any
of course. Like
dangerous situation in the
Basit
Middle
was also
East.
saying. But moving on, as far as our agenda on Kashmir is concerned, what are some of the next steps we can take? We talked about the role of the diaspora that they can play.
Look, the coming days are very important. Like on Sunday, there will be an Indian American rally in Houston, Texas,
Right.
where both Narendra Modi and Trump will speak to the people.
Right.
And then there will be a meeting on 23rd. So the coming week will give Pakistan a clear direction what the international leaders or the world leaders are thinking about Kashmir, because there is expectation that Imran Khan will speak first on 27th,
Right,
and
on
he has
Friday,
clearly
yeah.
said that he will talk on Kashmir.
Right.
I think that the coming days are very important, especially Imran Khan will be having meeting with Donald Trump. It is expected that there will be 2 meetings, and on the sideline there will be other meetings with the important leadership of the world. So it all depends. Like at least the visit of Imran Khan to the United States will give us the
A clear direction, perhaps,
that what
right.
Pakistan should do.
I can
Like-
see Naseem Sahab wants to say.
Yes,
Ji,
please.
Naseem Sahab.
As far Iran is concerned, for matter of Kashmir, I think Iran, it's very good that they have supported Pakistan and
Right.
Kashmir issue, but Iran is the weakest link at the moment. I don't think they can put pressure internationally or they can put pressure on India. But whereas Saudi Arabia is concerned, that is the most important country in the Middle East, and then obviously USA has got all the powers, is the only superpower in the world at the moment.
But
So
it's
if-
disappointing. I mean, I don't personally fare. I don't fare using the word. I don't. I can say that it's disappointing, the role of America so far. Wouldn't you agree?
Because this is the reality. America is superpower at the moment, and
Right.
America can influence on any country at the moment. So this is the good thing that Trump
But
has.
how do we get America to exert that influence? That's the issue, right? Because we've been trying, and of course the Prime Minister had that meeting with Donald Trump, and following that, there hasn't been the kind of response that one would have wanted.
Actually, this is the duty of UNO, because the UNO
You think the address would
resolutions-
make a difference?
Definitely.
it will.
The people of world should know what's happening in Kashmir. What is the issue of Kashmir? People were not knowing the issue of Kashmir. When we talked about Kashmir in Europe or England, nobody was caring about it. But when Prime Minister Imran Khan had raised the issue of RSS and Hitler and Nazism, then the people have started taking interest what's going in India, what's going in Kashmir. So that's why like that we can raise the voice of Kashmir, and we can ask them to pay attention on this issue, because this issue can lead to a nuclear war, because both countries have nuclear weapons. If there erupts a war over here, then it would be dangerous for all of the region. So we have to realize, whole of the world, we have to realize America, as America wants to go out of the war from Afghanistan at the moment.
Right. Of
And
course,
if-
the region itself has the
So-
potential to be volatile,
So
and
on
it can get that way
So
with
on the-
two nuclear powers.
On the one
that has
side,
to-
that America is asking Pakistan to help him
there
leaving
has to be-
Afghanistan, so we have to
But at
realize
some
him.
point, we have to acknowledge, I think, our own, failures also. I am going to go to Basit Saab, and then Basit Saab, at some point we do have to acknowledge where we went wrong, and if we need to revisit our the direction that we are going in, perhaps we need to revisit the intensity of our reaction, and whether the direction is right. In your opinion, do you think that, if we haven't been able to underline and explain to America, but primarily the US, because they're in that position, that, this region and the potential for it to get volatile, the fact that both nations are, both countries are nuclear states, has to be, there has to be, we need to perhaps talk about that also. Where are we wrong, if we are, and are we just reactive as opposed to proactive as far as the issue of Kashmir is concerned? What do you think?
We must sort of analyze the situation very critically. America is now a strategic partner of India.
Right,
That's a fact, and that's not going to change soon.
right,
Our history of
Right.
about 60 years of relationship, USA, has one outstanding feature. It has been transactional. There was a situation where the Americans needed it, we rose and gave them that help, and they rewarded us generously for that. And once that matter was over, the relationship was over. It went into cold storage. Then again an event came up, and again it warmed up. The event completed, and it's over. So we must conclude, by now we should have concluded, that forget about long-term relationship with
They're a
US.
friend in need is a
Yes,
friend in need.
they are only quid pro quo type of friends.
Right.
Our relationship is transactional.
But even then,
Let
that
it
kind,
remain
the
to-
transactional
I am telling
relationship,
you.
we didn't really get what we should have.
That's right. We should have played our card more
Right.
smartly. Now again that situation is. In Afghanistan, the Afghanistan issue is not over.
Right.
Although Trump has walked out. But Trump is a very shrewd businessman. He will take the other party right to the end of his wits. And this is what he will do. He has walked out. Tomorrow he'll again walk back into that negotiation forum.
Right.
And Pakistan's role will be there. It is there. So Pakistan should be very clear. We should straight away talk that yes, we'll play our part, but what we get in return. Our only demand is Kashmir. We don't want money. We don't want your support. Our all support, whatever the support on our foreign policy issues, and in fact the fabrication of foreign policy has to be in line with the Chinese.
Right.
Because they are the ones who who have always stood by us and provided us that strategic support in United Nations. They have used their vetoes wherever we wanted. They have even this the Security Council meeting which took place, which we are very proud, would not have taken place if China was not behind it. So all these facts
So
are
why
in front
didn't
of us.
America make? Why didn't President Donald Trump make that one call that would have changed the status
I
for
just-
so many Kashmiris?
I just gave you the answer.
Because
that
they're
they have
strategic
these
partners with India
And,
and
as
that-
far as the world, please don't.
But
try to
why
appeal
have we
to-
not been able to get them to do it? That's my question.
It's
Let's look at
unfortunate.
our own, let's talk about our own failures. Let's
I
talk
mean-
about our own issues.
I mean, what we did, what the role we played in Afghanistan when the Russians were there was remarkable.
Right.
I mean, America was a
do you
contesting
think our
superpower.
policy needs to change? Ji
No,
Shafiq Sahab, I'll come
Just
back.
let
to
me
you.
complete.
Ji.
That time America was a contesting superpower.
Right.
Russia was an equal power. But after their debacle in Afghanistan, Russia as an entity finished. It emerged as a smaller nation. And America became, the world became a unipolar world. This is what Pakistan did for it. It was no small achievement. But we didn't get anything in return. So now if we conclude that it's a transactional relationship, we should just do it on a transaction to transaction
So we
basis.
should get them to return
And
the
our long-term-
transaction.
And our long-term relationship
Right.
will be moved to the Chinese
Right,
side.
right. And I think America understands that. We need to accept it like you're
Exactly.
saying. Ji, Shafiq Sahab, why? Why can't we get America to play ball as far as, okay, it's a transactional relationship, but we never got what we should have got in those transactions that happened in the past. And what do we do to make sure that America can, perhaps help us? Because this is about humanity, this is about the cruelty, this is about the nothing less of the Nazi Germany situation, if not worse, that is happening in Kashmir at this point. So it's not really about about Pakistan per se. It's about the Kashmiris. Of course, we're linked to them in every way.
I think, unfortunately, we couldn't have the consistent policies of Pakistan regarding on Kashmir,
Right.
like the two previous government or the Musharraf rule. We had a different policies, and particularly I will blame the last regime of Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz because it had no foreign minister. And on the other hand, when Narendra Modi won the election, it was clear that he had a plan to revoke the Article 370. So it was an open field for Narendra Modi to do whatever he want to do with the Kashmiris. So now things are changing. Like Pakistan has successfully downgraded diplomatic relation with India, announced that there will be no bilateral talks with India on any issue. So I think that the the coming days are very important. Like Imran Khan is a leader of a big stature
Right.
among the Muslim countries. His voice is
Right.
heard by the international community. And I think in the coming days, it will be clear that what is the response of the US and the other important countries in the world. But the issue is that like President of United States, Donald Trump, he is thinking on the line of a business and trade relationship with India. If this is the case, it will be really unfortunate. But we have seen, like America has done in the past, like the way they supported Israel, they vetoed all the action.
What about the potential for things to get volatile in this region? That itself is.
I think that Imran Khan should realize the international world, including Donald Trump, on the top. It is the issue of human rights. There is a human rights, blatant violation by the U.S. By the Indian troops because they have particular laws which are including the special powers given to the Indian Army. They can enter anybody's home in Kashmir and they can search and
Right, right.
whatever they want.
And the
So,
fact that there has been no one has been allowed access, and it is now the 47th day, and yet
unfortunately, I think that now the world should realize that we
what
are.
is the best case scenario in your opinion following the address of the Prime Minister on Friday?
I think that
In
as
short term, do you think that it will have any short-term consequences? Can it have any short-term consequences?
Yes, of course. I mean, he will openly, when he is talk, Imran Khan has clearly said that he will talk on the issue of Kashmir, the human right issue in Kashmir, and it is not like he will definitely say that this is not the internal matter of India, because there are about 11 resolutions in the United Nations Security Councils, and United Nations has failed to address the issue of Kashmir. Like, he will definitely talk on that line, which will be definitely heartening for the Indian government. And Imran Khan will also expose the problem of the minorities living in India currently, because they have like the right wing RSS and Shiv Sena
even other than
people,
Kashmir,
they
from
have
what-
killed lot of not
Right.
only Muslim but the Christians and
Right.
the low cost Dalits in the
Right.
name of Gau Raksha or the protection of cows. Like, there are vigilante mobs in different states of India. So I mean, he will raise all these issues, and let's see.
Let's see
there
the
will
kind
be
of
definitely
reaction
some
that.
impact.
But even other than that, Naseem Saab, even other than, of course, the Kashmir issue, the fact that India, the fascism, the extremism, India, the face of India, as the way that the world wants it it wants the world to see it, as far as India is concerned. Friendly friendly as far as all religions are concerned, neutral perhaps. That face of India isn't exactly, not at all what's happening as far as India is concerned after, particularly after now that, the second term of Modi has started. That we need to expose that as far as the world is concerned also. Of course, when we talk about that, there is, the fact that the world has its own interests, America also, and all other countries which perhaps see India as a huge market. There are economic interests. But exposing that, what efforts can we make to expose that? We talked about the Kashmiri diaspora on the Kashmir issue. That itself, the kind of reaction that should be there, the kind of consistent reaction that should be there, is also missing. What's your take on this?
Very good point raised from you. You can see that Indian media is very powerful as compared to Pakistan even.
Right.
We even don't have English channels, just PTV World and few of your programs that foreigners view internationally or nationally as well. I was talking to one of the ambassador and he was complaining as well that you don't have any English channels. So media is the right tool at the moment which can deliver, which can tell people that what's happening in India and in Kashmir. Social media is doing some of its responsibility,
Right.
and people are coming to know about these things happening in Kashmir or the atrocities with ethnic community in India. So people have coming to know internationally. So we have to convince the world, because whenever there is a matter with the Muslims, people of world, they don't
Right,
care
exactly.
if it is
It's
Rohingya or it is Palestine or
Right.
it is Bosnia, they don't care about it.
Exactly.
So we have to unite first of all. Muslims should unite, the Muslim countries. IOC should raise their voice as well. So we have, they should put some sanctions on India. They must realize, India and Modi, that they are not doing the right thing. And we should raise the voice of Kashmiris and whatever is happening in India as well. So we have to show it to the world, but the media is the most important thing. So how can we show it to them? In this government, we have seen that they have started doing something and they have initiated this problem, and even now New York Times or Guardian, they are writing articles. So our moral duty is at the moment that we should open the eyes of the world, that they should look into that.
Right.
It's not the matter of Muslims, it is the matter of human beings, what human crises are going in Kashmir and not in occupied Kashmir.
Right.
If you can go to India, most of the states, the ethnic minorities, they are dealt very badly. India is number 7th country in the world for raping. There are 100,000 girls, minor girls, has been raped in India every year.
Yes,
So
and the
world
intolerance
should-
as far as,
the world should
religion.
look into these matters,
Right.
and they should take action, and they should detach with India. Economic things are not that important. Morally,
Right, right.
the things
But that
are
has
more
to be-
important. The
yes,
Europeans and they people are more like moral things they like, nothing like economics. So they should
The world
look
has
into
to
that.
decide that humanity
Look,
over
look,
economics at
Exactly.
this point.
Very well
Ji.
said.
Maruf,
Exactly.
let me add
Shafiq
something.
Sahib.
Like, I must appreciate the international media, all the international
Yes.
media. They are highlighting properly, and they are also propagating them through social media.
Right.
So the world has realized what is going on inside Kashmir. So it is not the religious issue only, because what we have seen in the rallies in support of Kashmiris, this is the people gathered in London, New York,
Yes.
and other important state
But I think what
cities.
India is actually, is actually holding on to is that it'll die down. And that has unfortunately happened as far as, that consistency is missing.
But one thing, Maruf, I'm telling you, right now there is, there is curfew, and
Right.
they are not allowing the people to assemble despite restrictions on the Kashmiris. The Kashmiris are coming out to the streets, and they are demonstrating against the Indian atrocities. So I think when the curfew is lifted, definitely there will be a strong reaction from the Kashmiris, because this is the third generation they are fighting against
And
the Indians.
they don't care anymore as far as, they've gone through so much that they're resilient, and they, in the face of so much
Of
that
course,
they
they
gone
have
through.
been
It's
living since 1989, when India changed
losing
laws
their
there.
children, their sons, their daughters,
that is
their
true.
parents,
Pellet
they're
guns
old without, and there's no medicine. I mean, the
And
situation is dismal.
they are fighting. They call themselves stone throwers. They don't have a weapon. Some of the groups, they have the weapon, but majority of them, they have just
Right, of
stones in
course.
their hand, and they are fighting with the Indian.
They're fighting with their spirit, of course, nothing
Yes,
else.
of course.
They're
So I
just
think
nothing else.
when
Exactly.
the curfew is lifted, we will see there will be a strong reaction from the Kashmiri people.
And we can do what we can to aid them
Yes,
at
of
this
course,
difficult
of
time.
course.
I mean, Basit Saab, we talked a little about this, but I don't think enough as far as, our domestic front is concerned. Unfortunately, we haven't seen the kind of unity that should be there at this time. We've seen different reactions come from within our country. Of course, the government has the responsibility. I would say primary responsibility, but what about the responsibility of, us as Pakistanis, before anything else, to be united at this time? How do we get there, and what are the issues?
Actually, I talked on it in the beginning
Yes,
also.
we did a little, but
that,
I want to speak about this because it's important
that
as far as
split has to be sort of-
international,
that's it.
bringing the issue internationally, sensitizing the world. It's important on the home front to be,
Exactly.
to be united.
Exactly. That spirit which was after independence, that has to be revived. As I just mentioned that
Right.
as youngsters we used to at least offer namaz-e-janaza. We used to go out of our class and offer namaz-e-janaza for a Kashmiri who died in Kashmir, because it was so close to our heart.
But we feel it. I
But
mean, there's no
that's it.
denying that.
So
but
that-
as far
that
as
should- that
our
should find
political
expression.
parties, no. But what about the political parties? Let's talk about that. Regardless of whether they're in the opposition or not, there is a role that needs to be played here.
That's right. Again I'll repeat that anybody who is a political leader is actually representing people, and he must act on people's sentiments. And what is people's sentiment at the moment? Our hearts go out for our Kashmiri brothers and sisters who are suffering so much. So I think it's moral responsibility of every Pakistani of any shade, any color, any party.
Whether you're in the media,
Exactly.
whether you're a
And the
politician, it's about
intelligentsia.
in all walks of
And
life.
my
We need
brother
to rise
just
above
raised the
that.
point, the importance of reaching out. I would say not only English. Why English? Why not in Arabic? Why not in French? Why not in German? I mean, everybody wants to listen to the world affairs in his own language.
Do you think we're doing enough as far as media is concerned,
No, no,
Shafiq
not
sir?
at all,
I mean, let's be honest. Other than occasionally there being a program, there isn't. I mean, of course, we seem to be more occupied with lots of other issues. As far as of course, as a country, we do have domestic issues. To be fair, but this
Our
issue
media, the
demands
problem is
precedence.
that the international language is not Urdu, unfortunately. We have a couple of channels, one of them is
But are we
the SPD
discussing?
World.
But even if it's
is-
not, are we discussing it enough in Urdu even?
Not that much. I mean, they have different priorities. There is some TRP issues with the local TV channels, Urdu TV channels they are focusing, but they are still, like I have seen the private channels they are doing, I mean, a lot, not that much bad. But actually, the people in the world, they don't understand Urdu language. So there must be a good English TV channel that people should watch us, that what we are talking about.
So we should be talking about it more.
Yes, of
And
course.
over and
Ji,
above, our
unfortunately-
intelligentsia should
Ji.
write articles.
Right, and we need that,
should
that role from the
penetrate
intelligentsia, we need
foreign-
that role from the media. We need, like I said, it's not really about, you know,
This is
what,
the time of-
what profession you're from or what sphere of life. It's more important that everybody play that role. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for joining us. Basit Raza Saab, thank you for being with us. Shafiq Ahmed Saab, thank you for joining us. Naseem Siddiqui Saab, thank you for being with us. As far as the issue of Kashmir is concerned, we need to present a united front. We need at this time to be, regardless of, like I said, you know, whether we are in the media or whether we are, it's the intelligentsia or whatever role the civil society can play, whatever role the Kashmiri diaspora can play, we need to use all and every which way we can to further the cause, Kashmiri cause. We need the world to react at this time. We need the kind of reaction that, you know, the proportional reaction, which there can't be any proportional reaction, but we need a hue and cry emanating from the world at large that makes India react, that makes Modi stop the inhumanity. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.